Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a space where we can be, belong, and become the very best version of ourselves. I love that motto. I think that is so good. I even use that in my classroom sometimes when I'm teaching. Developing, creating safe space where people can have conversations, where we can be okay with disagreeing and agreeing and digging deeper and typically I love seeing this. We see this a lot when we do Ethos online, specifically when we do the living room session. So I wanted to start by just reminding you, if you want to be a part of this, please join us. Email me, tonywerfel@gmail.com, and I will send you the link. It is so much fun to have conversations with other like-minded people who often will agree, will disagree, but we all have this set in motion, this idea that we are going to grow from the conversations, and no matter what, whether we agree or disagree, we're going to be better human beings. We're going to be closer together. That's what this space should do as well. And so, welcome. We are moving through the book of Genesis. And again, I've had so many people say, how many sessions have you done? You're only in chapter 7. Yeah, it's what we do, right? We ask deeper questions of the text. We always go deeper. We know that this chapter alone, chapter 7, oftentimes this would take months and months for different students and rabbi to go through it together, because they would stop and it's almost like you're eating a really good meal, right? You're savoring every bit of it that you can, because like this chapter, when it's gone, well, I'm on to the new one, but I want to savor every moment with the mashed potatoes I can. I'm going on to the turkey or the tofurkey, whatever you do. But this, I got to enjoy this while I have it, right? And so we savor every little bit we can. Whenever there's something beautiful to be brought out, we pull it out. And so as a reminder, we always want to know, what's the purpose? What's the point of this verse, this chapter? Where did it come from? What's the context? So Genesis, again, the context is they're in Babylonian captivity. They are essentially, again, 587 BC. They're brought to captivity. All the other nations that are under Babylon now, Babylon has devoured them all, right? All the other nations have assimilated. They've taken on Babylon's gods, except for Israel. Israel says, we're not going to assimilate. We're going to keep our values, our structures, our stories. We're going to keep it all. And so they compile Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They do not do this for historical accuracy. No tribe did it then. What they did, again, is they compiled it all so they would not assimilate. So Torah is a written response to the fears of assimilation. So whenever Torah is brought out, whenever the scrolls are brought out, especially hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years ago, what they would do with this is whenever Torah is brought out, there would be celebration, because Torah is the thing. It's the ark, right? It's the basket. It's the thing that has captured all of the goodness, all of the stories, all of who they are as a nation. It's captured all of that together. It has survived the crazy floods, the captivities, all of it. And it's kept Israel, right? Jewish. It's kept them able to basically keep their values. And so in Torah, it's filled with stories, mythopoetic stories. It's filled with poetic warnings, prophetic warnings, letters, all of it. It's filled with all of this goodness, right? So many different kinds of literature involved in it. Campfire stories, all of it. And it's all there. And so every time we pick it up, we remember Israel is going to be miniaturized through the tellings. So when you read about Joseph, we'll get to him. When you read about Moses, all these different tellings, we understand that this is the story of Israel again, just like we understood in the story of Adam and Eve. This is Israel's story, their struggle with wisdom and knowledge and how to let it guide. It's going to be the story repeated over and over again. And we'll read it over and over again. And we will learn bigger and bigger lessons every time we pick it up. So to finish off chapter 7, that's what we'll do today. We start again with Noah. Who's the character of Noah? He is the messianic archetype that's going to carry the nation of Israel into the ark, where they're going to sustain themselves through the flood. Right? So much metaphor, so much beauty here. Again, Torah is found. It's the ark, right? You have the messianic archetype that's going to bring them back to Torah, right? Torah is going to sustain them through. There's so much beauty, so much metaphor there, especially if you're Jewish, you'd make these connections immediately, right? Many of us, we are not Jewish, so we're kind of playing catch up. Yeah. All right, so here we go. Genesis 7:22 through 24. It goes like this. Everything that had the breath of the Spirit of life in its nostrils, of all that were on the dry land, died. And it, the flood, blotted out all beings that were upon the face of the earth, from man to animal to creeping thing and to the fowl of the heavens, and they were blotted out from the earth. And only Noah and those with him in the ark survived. And the water prevailed upon the earth in 150 days. Yeah, so for 150 days, the water sits, right? Filled the whole world, 150 days. Got it, right? Almost half a year. Let's go to this first part. Everything that had the breath of the Spirit of life. Again, we just read a really interesting story, didn't we, about this breath idea. And again, it's all part there to help kind of remind us. They're using various words and phrases to bring us back to the different stories that we've already read, right? And so breath, this reference toward Adam and Eve, right? Adam and Eve are dust, they're dirt without breath. You need the breath to be alive, right? This is the idea. You need the presence of the divine, right? First thing you do when you're born, you take your first breath. Right? It's a divine thing. It's a spiritual thing. The last thing you do before you die, you take your last breath. It's very intricately involved in everything we do, right? And if you're Jewish, you understand the idea of breath, Yod He Vahe, the very name of the divine that they gave the divine, right? The word means breath. Yeah, there's so much depth to the concept of breath here. And so breath, the breath of God, it basically is about to leave the world. Do you see what the authors are saying here? All that brings life, all that brings breath, peace, right? All of it is the calm. It's about to be removed, right? When the presence of breath is no longer there, we have chaos. Breath is removed. We experience the chaos all over again. We experience creation backwards, don't we? Creation in reverse. Yeah, you see it. When the breath is gone, there's death. Right? So really, this is more about an absence of breath and not an introduction of chaos, but an absence of breath. This is a very deeply Jewish idea here. But what I'm getting at here, again, breath is a reference toward this Adam and Eve story, right? It's a removal of life. Not I'm literally killing you, but I'm removing the presence of life from this area. And chaos steps in. That's the idea here. So let's keep going. And the flood blotted out all of the beings. Now, right? Blotted out. We get this picture of like the divine sitting there and he's like, I'm going to blot you out. I'm going to blot you out. I'm going to remove you. I'm going to keep you. I like you. I'm going to kill you. It almost seems very arbitrary, right? It almost seems like Zeus like God up here throwing down lightning bolts, laughing, finally I get to destroy these pesky humans. It's kind of rough when you read it, right? When you take it very literally, that seems like angry God destroying people, right? Blotting them out from the face of the earth. You made mistakes, you're gone, right? That's the idea that we get here. But there's actually, again, this phrase blotting out. It's a very common one. When you look at Isaiah, you'll see it. Even I, am he who blots out your transgressions. Look at the positive here. Blots out your transgressions for my own sake and remembers your sins no more. Here's the thing. The idea of blotting out, there's something deeper here. It's choosing to not sit. It's choosing to basically learn from mistakes. That's the idea here. You're learning from mistakes. You're breaking cycles. When things are blotted out, it was not to be taken literally, right? It's not, I have a picture here. It's not this, right? It's not Santa Claus getting his list out, marking it twice, going to find out who's naughty or nice. Not the idea. Angry, evil Santa Claus, giving some kids coal and others not. There's something way deeper here with this concept of blotting. When we choose not to sit in the protection, right? Learn from the mistakes, not to be in the ark. When you choose not to be in that space, not to allow, again, if you're Jewish, Torah to guide your steps, right? When you choose not to be in the basket, in the ark, in the safe place, when you choose to remove yourself from it, when you don't choose to break cycles, right? I'm trying to think of every way I can explain it. Basically, our worlds shatter, our empires fall, our lives are ruined. That's what happens. It's not literally this God up there blotting out your name. This is a deeper metaphor. When I choose not to sit in the things that bring peace, protection, love, connection, when I remove myself from that, I'm essentially bringing myself more and more pain, more and more brokenness. I am inviting chaos in. Yeah, now it makes sense. Good. And then it says this: every creeping thing from the fowls of the heavens, they were blotted out from the earth, and only Noah and those with him in the ark survived. Again, in the ark. So keeping with this idea, when we choose to come together in the ark, again, there's family there, right? There's community there in the ark. When we choose to come together in the basket, the ark, the place where we learn, we grow. When we choose to come into community together, in those safe places where we have difficult conversations, whatever, that's when we grow. I work with a group of people that are phenomenal human beings, and we have this mission statement. It's all about resilience. And so we talk about building resilient characters, helping our teenagers become resilient human beings and citizens in the world. And so I love this definition of resilience here. I'm going to read it to you. Resilience is the capacity of a dynamic system to adapt successfully to challenges that threaten the function, survival, or future development of the system, or you could say the person, right? So resilience, again, something I just love this word lately. Resilience is only going to come when you choose to move through problems. Resilience, right? Not avoid them, right? That's something we're really good at in our culture. Not avoid them, but you move through them fully. You accept the challenges. You accept the problems, right? You choose to move through them fully. I have a student, and I didn't even plan on this, but I have a student who said, you know what? I know a girl who has everything handed to her, just everything handed to her. My student was so frustrated about this. She said, you know what? They wanted a car, and her parents gave her this new Audi, right? They're not struggling for food or any of that right now. She said, we are. She said, I probably won't have a car for many, many years, and I'm 2 years older than this girl. But she said, you know what? I'm not going to sit back and be angry about it. I'm not going to sit back and just whine and complain. She said, I'm going to continue working. I'm going to become educated, and I'm going to work, and I will get the car. And she said this to me, and I thought it was so beautiful. She said, that car for me is going to mean way more than someone just giving her that car. And I thought, because she was talking about resilience. She's talking about growing. And our culture right now is terrified of growth, conflict, change. We use words like microaggressions, right? Political correctness. We have all these words that I get it, but I also, because here's the thing, here's the deep darkness to those words, those concepts, that way of viewing the world. When it's all about being scared, right? Scared to have difficult conversations, when you're terrified to do the difficult thing, right? Always walking on eggshells. Then what you do is you begin to live in this protective little shell, and you never actually experience growth points, right? You're always avoiding change and shift, and you never get to build resilience. And resilience only comes when we face problems. We don't get resilience from just sitting on our keyboard, becoming a keyboard warrior and fighting other people there. We build resilience by having difficult conversations in person. We build resilience by going through the problems. Resilience. And this is what I love about the Jewish nation. Here's one of my favorite quotes from Rabbi Rashi. I'm a rabbi that I just love reading through. He always gives great concepts. Beautiful. So I'm just going to read it to you. He says, we Jews are strong, not because we built comfortable, strong, and safe empires. Yeah. We chose instead to build within, build resilience. going to read it one more time because I think this is so good. And I don't think we get it enough. I'm going to read it one more time. Listen, it's just so good. So good. We Jews are strong, not because we built comfortable, strong, and safe empires. We chose instead to build within, build resilience. And if you think about the Jewish nation, what all they have been through, they're some of the most resilient people. Think about the Holocaust, just that alone, right? Not to mention Babylon, Egypt, Medo-Persia, Rome, right? They've been through it. And yet, these people continue to live these beautiful, resilient lives of connection, growth. They're singing songs together, right? They're an incredibly resilient nation. The chapter ends with this concept, and this concept, again, heavy, heavy, heavy. Because we know every word, right? All the numbers brought up, there's always something interesting there. And so notice this. They survived, and the water prevailed upon the earth 150 days. You know I'm going to go there, right? 150 days. Does it have any significance? Is it just a number? Well, here's the thing. 150 days, again, does have some interesting significance. And this one is going to blow your mind. I get so excited about this one because most people don't know this unless, of course, you are a Jewish scholar, right? So watch this now. 150 days was a deeply Judaic reminder of the 150 songs of the psalmist. I know, right? And when you look at the Psalms, the book of Psalms, this is a compilation of 150 different songs. I know, right? And so in the ark, the place of healing and protection, Jews are reminded to remember their story. We are to move from lament to confidence, from confidence to thanksgiving. And so here's the cool thing about the book of Psalms that you probably didn't know, but I love this. Here's what one writer says about the book of Psalms. The Psalms themselves range in mood and expression of faith from joyous celebration to solemn hymn and bitter protests. They are in themselves another reflection of Torah in song. And so when you look at the book of Songs, all right, the Psalm book, it's beautiful. It's filled with so much poetry. There is actually a flow to it. And so they go from lament, they're crying out, to then building confidence, to then having something beautiful to celebrate, in which they celebrate, they sing. And so the whole story of the Jewish nation can be summed up in the book of Psalms, as well as every one of these smaller stories about Israel. And so it's a fabulous connection when you get it. It makes so much sense. It is beautiful. And so the ark, again, think about the ark, the story of the ark. We went from lament, brokenness. The world is ending, right? There's the flood. So many things are being destroyed. There's lament. But as you sit in the ark and you learn and you unlearn certain things, you learn to break certain cycles, you remember your story, there's a growing confidence knowing our God has moved us through this far, right? We have made it through. The ark has protected us. There is hope on the other side. You gain the confidence. And when the flood ends, when you're on the other side, when the waters recede, there's thanksgiving. There's a celebration. And so again, 150 is a beautiful concept that life is a process, right? Life is a process and you learn to dance with it. You learn to move with it. You learn to go with the ebb and the flows. And as you move through the ebbs and the flows, when you move from lament to confidence to thanksgiving and back to lament again, because we're going to continue moving through these different cycles, as we do it, we grow, we become stronger, more resilient people, able to take on the bigger and bigger issues in life. Because let's be honest, the issues you had when you were 10 years old are very different from the ones you had at 40, 50, 60. And if you are a human being who's continuing to grow in resilience, right? Your 4-year-old self could not have handled the stuff in your 50s, could it? No, because you have grown and you've become a more and more resilient human being. So beautiful, right? So, how do we take it home? How do we build resilience? There are books, countless books written about resilience. So, I'm going to share with you a couple ideas from a couple different books. Number one, almost every single book I've read on resilience says this: we have to learn to embrace change. Change is inevitable. And if you're always fighting change, you're never going to grow, right? And so the idea here is learning to embrace it. When change happens, don't fight it. Say, okay, there's a lesson coming. There's something to be learned. There's something that's going to change and shift, and I'm going to experience resilience. I'm going to accept that the thing has changed, right? Certain things you just cannot change. So I'm going to move with it, right? Leo and I, we were talking about a drummer who lost an arm and decided, I'm going to become resilient. I'm not just going to give up drumming. So they found a way to be able to put the drumstick on the arm, and they found out new ways. And before you know it, this drummer's got different ways to drum that normal drummers can't even drum like him anymore, because there's something new he's able to do with two different drums. Now it's like a 3-arm drummer. It's incredible, right? Because he chose to be resilient. Yeah, chose to build resilience, build the character, face the problem, find solutions, embrace the change. Number 2, find a sense of purpose. I really like this one. Developing a new way, a mission statement, a sense that who you are, you're gonna head in, you're gonna become stronger from it. Finding what your purpose is. All of that can only happen when you know your passions, when you know what makes you come alive. There are all these different, if you go online, there's so many different ways to find out your personality types, right? And so many of these, when you look at your 16 different personality types, if you take these different tests, these Briggs-Myers or whatever, Myers-Briggs, what you'll find, if you understand your strengths and your weaknesses, if you understand what causes you to come alive the most, that's going to create some really interesting things for you. When you deal with problems and brokenness and situations, and you know, here's how I respond best, right? Here's the vision, the statement I have. For me, I create space where people can grow. That's one of my vision statements. Knowing that is going to cause me to be able to move in my path, choose different things that are going to fit and make me come alive most, right? That idea of knowing your sense of purpose makes a huge difference when building resilience. Number 3, nurture yourself. Take care of yourself. This is why so many people talk about self-care, right? It's not just a new gimmick. It actually is important. So learning to take care of yourself, investing time, energy into the things that bring positivity to your life are so valuable, because your health is important. So take time, invest in yourself so that you can invest in others. Another one, be a problem solver. I really find this one pretty interesting. When I was, and especially right now, I have a 2-year-old, right? We have this 2-year-old who you might even be able to hear in the background. Our 2-year-old, when she's crying or throwing tantrums, we are learning right now, there's something that our daughter needs. And so when, instead of freaking out, getting angry, like, whatever, spank her, whatever happened to us when we were young, if you can just say, I wonder what the problem is. I wonder what I can do to solve the issue, right? When you become a problem solver, every issue, every obstacle becomes kind of an excitement point, right? I mean, you can build resilience, of course, from that. Everything is a problem that can be solved. What a positive outlook. And then lastly, build strong social networks. I think this one is so important. If you want to be a resilient person, you also have to have a community around you that is also filled with positivity, connection, a community that can help you grow and have your back. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this one. This is so good, especially the psalmist part, 150. There's so much beauty, connection, and again, I think it's so important going back to what it all meant in the past, knowing who the audience was. All of that brings so much beauty, so much depth. We do the hard work here at Ethos Online. Everyone, if you are considering donating to a nonprofit, we'd ask that you consider donating to ours. ethos-church.org/donate. Please consider supporting what we're doing. We think this is bringing a lot of life to a book that's been honestly hijacked, right? We want to show the beauty and the depth of this book. And so we will continue doing that. But with your support, we can do it in far more interesting ways, right? Ethos Living Rooms, we continue gathering every month together. It's growing. We have people from all over the different states in the United States. It's super fun. Please consider joining us there. And as always, please subscribe, hit that button, the little bell, and then share these videos with people. Right? Email them out, text them out, let them know, hey, if you were interested about, the Ark story or the Adam and Eve story, you should watch this. Right? Share these videos every chance you get. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We love you, and we'll see you next week.